before we get into this story, sit back because this case still shocks people more than 20 years later. It was Christmas Eve in 2002 when Laci Peterson vanished from her home in Modesto, California. She was 8 months pregnant with a baby boy the couple planned to name Connor. Her husband, Scott Peterson, said he left home that morning to go fishing at the bay, and when he came back, his wife was gone. What followed was one of the biggest missing person searches the country had seen in years. Volunteers walked through fields, boats searched the water, and the whole nation watched the news every night hoping for good news that never came. Now that you know how this case began, let us move to what happened next. The investigation turns to Scott. As weeks passed without any sign of Laci, police started looking more closely at Scott. His story about the fishing trip did not fully add up, and his behavior struck many people as odd for a husband whose pregnant wife was missing. Slowly, the police stopped treating him as a grieving spouse and started treating him as a suspect. This shift changed the direction of the whole case. With suspicion building, there was one more piece that made things far worse for Scott. During the search for Laci, it came out that Scott had been having an affair with a woman named Amber Fry. He had even told her he was single, or that he had lost his wife, all while Laci was still missing. When this news broke, public opinion turned hard against him. People felt he was hiding something big, and prosecutors used this affair to argue that Scott had a reason to want his wife gone. While the public was reacting to the affair, the case in the water was about to take a tragic turn. The bodies are found. 4 months after Laci disappeared, her body and the body of her unborn son washed up along the shore of San Francisco Bay, not far from where Scott said he had gone fishing that day. This discovery devastated the community and pushed the case toward trial. Prosecutors argued the location was no coincidence. With this discovery, the stage was set for one of the most watched trials in recent memory. The trial was moved away from Modesto because so many people there already had strong feelings about the case. It was held in the Bay Area instead. Prosecutors built their case using circumstantial evidence, meaning there was no direct proof like a confession or a weapon, but many small facts that, when put together, pointed at Scott. Peterson's own lawyers later argued the case against him was entirely circumstantial, saying no direct, physical, or forensic evidence tied him to what happened. Even so, in 2004 a jury in San Mateo County found Scott Peterson guilty of murdering his wife Laci and their unborn child Connor. The jury then went a step further and sentenced him to death. That death sentence, however, did not stay in place forever, and that is where things get interesting. The death sentence overturned. Years later, the Supreme Court of California overturned that death sentence in 2020, ruling that a judge had wrongly dismissed jurors who opposed capital punishment without asking if they could set aside their personal views during the trial. This did not mean Scott was found innocent. It simply meant the punishment itself was changed. He is now serving a sentence of life without the possibility of parole at Mule Creek State Prison. His guilt, in the eyes of the law, still stood. But that was not the end of his fight, because a new group of lawyers was about to step in. The Innocence Project steps in. In 2024, the Los Angeles Innocence Project took on Scott Peterson's case and filed a legal request called a writ of habeas corpus, which they said contained substantial new evidence. This group works to help people they believe were wrongly convicted, and taking on a case this famous brought new attention to old questions. In the filing, Peterson's lawyers claimed his rights to due process and a fair trial were denied during his 2004 trial, and they argued his conviction should be thrown out. So what exactly is this new evidence they're talking about? Let's break it down. The petition claimed the new evidence was not available at the time of the original trial, that it supports Peterson's long-standing claim of innocence, and that it shows he was wrongfully convicted. The lawyers went as far as saying this evidence undermines the entire case built against him, including claims that some of the science used at trial was flawed. Part of the recent court fight has centered on physical evidence too. One hearing focused on DNA testing of a piece of duct tape that was found on Laci's pants when her body was recovered from the bay, and the defense also asked for more than 600 pieces of evidence from the Modesto Police Department going back to 2002. The defense argues that closer testing of this old evidence with today's tools could point to someone else entirely. Of course, not everyone agrees these new claims hold up, and that brings us to the other side of this story. What prosecutors say. Even after all these new filings, the courts have not sided with Scott Peterson. Months after a judge refused to review the new evidence, Peterson decided to turn to the public in his effort to prove he did not kill his wife and unborn child, though the top prosecutor in Stanislaus County remains unconvinced. Stanislaus County District Attorney Jeff Logero has said that Peterson has brought forward similar claims of new evidence more than a dozen times since the trial ended, and that each time, courts have rejected these claims and confirmed his conviction. Logero also said the case has already received the most careful and thorough review the justice system allows for over 20 years. In short, prosecutors are standing firm that the original verdict was correct, no matter how many new petitions are filed. With both sides so far apart, it is no surprise that television has taken a fresh look at the whole case. The new documentary. This year, a new documentary called Scott Peterson, The New Evidence began airing, bringing the case back into the spotlight for a whole new audience. The series was made by A&E and led by defense attorney Chris Pixley, and it brings in new witness accounts, updated scientific analysis, and views from both the prosecution and the defense. The goal of the show is to give a balanced and detailed look at parts of the case that have not been fully explored before. It aired as a 4-hour special split into 2 parts, revisiting the 2002 case that captured the whole country's attention at the time. Whether you believe Scott is guilty or not, shows like this keep the conversation alive and bring fresh eyes to old evidence. So after all this, where does the case actually stand right now? Where things stand today? As it stands, Scott Peterson remains behind bars, serving life without parole. A California judge denied his most recent petition in April, though the Los Angeles Innocence Project has continued working to appeal that decision. His legal team keeps pushing, prosecutors keep pushing back, and the public keeps watching closely. Whether this new evidence will ever be enough to free him is still unknown. For now, one thing is certain. More than 20 years after Laci and Connor Peterson lost their lives, this case is still far from over, and people all over the country are still trying to figure out the real truth behind it. If you found this story interesting, like and subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon for more interesting stories.